In the silent expanse of the Sol system, Earth had become a memory. Cities that once bustled with life now lay abandoned, covered in dust and rust. The oceans had dried in places and forests grew wild, unchecked by human hands. Humanity had spread among the stars, leaving behind a planet that had been their cradle. Yet in the shadows of this forgotten world, something ancient stirred, a secret no one had dared touch for decades. Deep in orbit, hidden among derelict satellites and decaying space stations, lay the prototype warship Dauntless. It was humanity's greatest creation and their most dangerous secret. Built during the last war against the Galactic Empire, it had been designed to face entire fleets alone, its weapons unmatched, its speed and defenses beyond comprehension. But fear had kept it inactive. Leaders had argued, no human should wield such power. The consequences could be catastrophic. And so, it had slept for decades, drifting in silence, watching time pass as humanity abandoned Earth. Commander Elena Voss had spent her life at the edge of human space, patrolling lonely sectors where nothing moved but drifting asteroids. Her ship's sensors picked up an unusual signal coming from the abandoned orbital dock. At first she thought it was a glitch, but then she saw it clearly. A faint rhythmic pulse of energy like a heartbeat coming from the darkness. Her heart skipped. She had heard legends about Dauntless, stories of a ship so powerful it could challenge the entire empire. But those were just stories, or so she had believed. Descending into the dock, Elena felt a mix of fear and awe. The hangar was vast, dark and silent, the walls echoing her footsteps. The warship loomed above her like a sleeping giant. Its surface gleamed faintly in the dim light, untouched by the years yet emanating a silent, powerful presence. She ran her fingers over the cold metal, imagining the battles it could fight, the lives it could save, and the vengeance it could bring to those who had destroyed human colonies. Dauntless, wake up, she whispered. Her voice echoed through the empty dock. Her fingers moved quickly across the ancient controls, bypassing forgotten security protocols. Lights flickered across the ship's hull as systems hummed back to life. The warship shivered as if stretching after a long slumber. Then a voice rang in her mind, calm and precise yet almost human. Commander Elena Voss, systems online. Awaiting directives, her eyes filled with tears. Aegis, it's time. The Empire is coming. They're destroying our colonies. We can't let them reach anyone else. The AI's voice remained steady, readiness at 98%. Weapons calibrated. Propulsion system stable. Maximum combat capacity achievable in 36 minutes. Elena took a deep breath. 36 minutes could save thousands or doom them all. She glanced out of the hangar bay toward the stars and imagined the Empire's fleet, proud and arrogant, believing humans were too weak to fight back. She felt a surge of determination unlike anything she had ever known. This is for everyone who was lost. For every colony, every life. Humanity won't bow. Humanity won't break, not now, not ever. The warship pulsed with energy as if acknowledging her words. The engines glowed softly, ready to roar to life. She walked across the command deck, her footsteps steady despite the storm of emotions inside her. Memories of Earth flashed in her mind. The laughter of children, the golden sunsets over oceans, the warmth of people working together against impossible odds. Humanity had always survived, even when the universe tried to crush them. And now perhaps it would rise again. Far across the galaxy, the Empire's grand fleet sailed without hesitation, unaware that one hidden human ship had already begun its awakening. A single vessel, forgotten and abandoned, was about to challenge an empire. And somewhere deep in the heart of the warship, Elena and Dauntless prepared for the impossible. The stars outside seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the first strike of a force that the galaxy had long underestimated. Humanity's ghost was stirring, and soon it would roar. Far beyond Earth's orbit, in the black emptiness of space, the Galactic Empire's grand fleet moved with terrifying precision. Thousands of ships stretched across the stars, each one a weapon of unimaginable power. Their engines burned cold and steady, their formations flawless, their captains confident. To them, humanity was a weak, scattered species, long abandoned and easy to crush. Admiral Kale stood on the bridge of the Empire's flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed most human colonies. His uniform was immaculate, his posture perfect, his eyes sharp and calculating. He had destroyed dozens of human worlds without mercy. Now he prepared to finish what he had started, the eradication of Earth's last remnants. The humans have no power left, Kale said calmly. his voice echoing in the command chamber. Their fleets are destroyed, their colonies are defenseless. Prepare for orbital bombardment. Show them why resistance is meaningless. He did not know that one ship, hidden for decades, had already begun its awakening. Dauntless, humanity's abandoned prototype warship, stirred silently in the shadows, its systems humming with life. It waited for the moment to strike, for the moment to show the galaxy that humans were never weak, only underestimated. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of Dauntless, her hand steady on the controls, though her heart raced like a drumbeat. She watched the stars ahead, imagining the Empire's fleet stretching across the darkness. Every ship she saw in her mind represented lives lost, colonies destroyed, and countless humans who had been scattered across space. She swallowed hard, drawing strength from the memories of her people. "Aegis," she said, voice firm. "They are coming. I want full stealth until we strike. Target the lead ships first, but avoid unnecessary destruction of nearby systems. This is a warning and a message." The AI's calm, precise voice filled the command deck. "Acknowledged, Commander. Tactical analysis complete. Probability of initial strike success, 97%. Optimal firing sequence prepared." Outside, Dauntless glided silently through the void, invisible to the Empire's long-range sensors. Its armor absorbed residual cosmic radiation, masking its presence. Its engines hummed quietly, ready to unleash unimaginable power at the perfect moment. Elena felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. This was the moment she had trained for all her life. One ship against thousands. One human will against an empire. Suddenly, the first warning arrived. An Empire scout cruiser disappeared without warning, a column of fire and debris where it had floated just seconds before. The fleet's sensors screamed alarms, but they could not detect the source. Panic rippled through the formation as ship captains scrambled to identify the invisible attacker. Elena's eyes narrowed. "Aegis Fire Sequence Alpha. Hit the lead ships. Focus fire, precise strikes. Make them see us." But not until the time is right. The AI responded instantly. Weapons firing. Targeting systems active. Optimal trajectory calculated. A sudden pulse of energy tore through the vacuum of space, striking the flagship and two supporting cruisers. Explosions blossomed like deadly flowers, sending debris spiraling into the void. The Empire's fleet faltered, confusion spreading like wildfire. Admiral Kael's confident composure cracked for the first time. What is attacking us?" he shouted, disbelief echoing across the bridge. His hands moved over the console frantically. But Dauntless anticipated every maneuver, striking before the Empire could react. Elena held her breath as another wave of attacks disabled weapon systems and shredded armor across the fleet. Her heart pounded with a mix of fear and determination. Each strike represented the memory of every colony burned, every human life lost. Humanity was not giving up. Humanity was fighting back. In that moment, Dauntless became more than a warship. It became the spirit of a species, the embodiment of every human who had dared to survive against impossible odds. The Empire, with all its fleets and power, would learn a lesson it could never forget: never underestimate humanity. The stars outside seemed to tremble under the violence and brilliance of the battle yet to fully begin. Elena whispered to herself a vow stronger than steel. For humanity, for Earth, for every life they tried to erase. And somewhere in the void, the first wave of the Grand Fleet's destruction spread, marking the beginning of a fight that would shake the galaxy and change the course of history forever. The void of space trembled as Dauntless emerged from the shadows, fully revealed to the Empire's Grand Fleet. Its hull gleamed under distant starlight, massive weapons arrays primed and humming with lethal energy. Commander Elena Voss gripped the control panel, her knuckles white, her heart pounding. She had spent her life fighting on the edges of human space, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. Humanity's last hope now moved as one with her will. The Empire's ships reacted instantly. Hundreds of cannons opened fire, plasma streams cutting across the darkness like deadly threads of light. Yet Dauntless was fast, agile, and cunning. It weaved between beams with almost human intuition, dodging death at every turn. Elena's voice was calm but fierce as she guided the ship. "Aegis, target their flagship. Disable engines first, then their weapons. Hit with precision. Every strike counts." The AI responded smoothly, almost reverently. "Acknowledged, Commander. Calculating trajectory and power distribution. Probability of critical hit, 94%. With a surge of energy, Dauntless fired. A concentrated plasma beam tore through the lead enemy vessel. Rip. Ping its engines apart. Explosions cascaded through the formation as the flagship spun helplessly into a storm of debris. The fleet's formation faltered instantly. Panic spread through the Empire crews like wildfire. Ships that had never feared humans now trembled before one solitary warship. Elena's eyes burned with determination. Memories of every destroyed colony, every life lost, and every human left behind rushed into her mind. She remembered her home on a distant colony that had been annihilated months ago. Friends and families reduced to ashes. Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to break. "This is for them. For everyone," she whispered, her voice steady despite the grief. Aegis responded in its calm, precise tone. "Commander, human tactical innovation is remarkable. Enemy efficiency is high, yet they cannot predict your maneuvers." Elena allowed herself a brief smile. Humanity had always survived by being unpredictable, by daring to fight when others thought it impossible. And now the galaxy would witness the same courage, amplified 1,000-fold through the firepower of Dauntless. The warship danced through the fleet, firing missile salvos, plasma bursts, and concentrated laser strikes. Every enemy ship it struck became a symbol of defiance, a reminder that humans were not to be underestimated. Entire squadrons were obliterated before reinforcements could react. Even the Empire's most advanced vessels faltered under the precision and speed of the attack. Through it all, Elena remained steady. She spoke to Aegis not just as a commander to a ship, but as a partner in survival. "We can't stop now. Keep pressure on the fleet. Make them remember who we are. Make them fear humanity." The AI's response was almost warm, like pride hidden within its programming. "Acknowledged, Commander. Humanity's will is formidable. You demonstrate this truth in every action." Amid the destruction, the surviving human colony's communications poured into the deck. Messages of hope, courage, and solidarity reached Elena. "We see you, Commander. We believe in you. Humanity will survive." The voices of millions, trembling yet unbroken, gave her strength. Each strike became a promise to protect those lives, a vow to the species that had always fought against impossible odds. Admiral Kale's confidence crumbled. His fleet, once disciplined and unstoppable, now floundered in chaos. He barked orders that went unheeded, his pride turning into desperation. He had underestimated humans, believing them weak, fragile, and defeated. But now he faced the impossible. One ship, a single human vessel, dismantling his grand fleet with unmatched fury. Elena took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history pressing on her shoulders. Every strike, every maneuver was more than combat. It was humanity's declaration. Even in the cold, empty void of space, a species long doubted was rising with power, strategy, and unbreakable spirit. The battle was far from over. But for the first time, the Empire's grand fleet understood the truth. Humans were not prey. Humans were predators, cunning, relentless, and fearless. And humanity's fury, channeled through Dauntless, had only just begun. The stars around them glimmered as if watching silently, reflecting the brilliance of one human ship standing against an empire. And in that brilliance, the galaxy glimpsed a force that would not be ignored, a spirit that would not bow, and a species that would rise again. The void of space was ablaze with light and destruction. The Empire's grand fleet, once an unstoppable force, was now in disarray. Ships spun helplessly, engines failing, weapons destroyed, while Dauntless moved with unrelenting precision. Commander Elena Voss felt the weight of humanity pressing on her shoulders, a responsibility heavier than any she had carried before. Yet she would not falter. Humanity had always survived against impossible odds, and she would ensure it survived now. "Aegis, scan the remaining fleet," she commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Focus on weaknesses. Prioritize the command vessels and dreadnoughts. We need to break their formation completely." The AI's calm tone filled the bridge. "Scanning. Analysis complete. Critical weak points identified in the central fleet. Targeting solution calculated for maximum effect." Elena nodded. "Then let's make them pay for every colony they destroyed." With a surge of energy, Dauntless launched a coordinated assault. Missile salvos, plasma cannons, and laser arrays cut through the enemy ships with surgical precision. The flagship, once the symbol of the Empire's dominance, erupted in a massive explosion. sending shockwaves that damaged nearby vessels. Panic rippled through the remaining ships, their formations collapsing as fear spread like wildfire. Admiral Kale's hands trembled over his console. Impossible. One ship. How? His voice cracked. His fleet had been flawless in countless campaigns, but they could not predict a human's audacity, a human's creativity, or the unyielding will behind Dauntless. Elena felt a surge of emotion as she watched the Empire falter. Memories of lost friends, destroyed colonies, and abandoned worlds surged in her mind. Each strike she commanded was a tribute, a promise that humanity would not bow. "This is for every life you tried to erase," she whispered, her hands moving instinctively over the controls. Aegis responded, almost in admiration. "Commander, your tactical decisions are extraordinary. Enemy response patterns are broken. Probability of total fleet collapse, 79%. The warship danced through the debris, weaving between explosions, using enemy fire to its advantage. Every movement was precise, every strike deliberate. Dauntless was no longer just a machine. It was the embodiment of humanity's spirit, its cunning and its courage. Communications from surviving colonies flooded the command deck. "We see you. We are with you. Humanity will not fall." Messages of hope and defiance strengthened Elena's resolve. The warship was not alone. It carried the hopes, fears, and courage of an entire species. The Empire's fleet attempted to regroup, sending wave after wave of attack, but Elena anticipated each maneuver. Dauntless countered every strike, disabling weapons, crippling engines, and isolating ships for precise destruction. The tide of battle had shifted completely. What had begun as desperation now became dominance. Humanity was no longer on the defensive. It was taking control of its destiny. Elena's hands hovered over the controls as she watched another dreadnought explode. The heat of the battle mixed with the cold vacuum of space, yet her heart burned with a fierce determination. "We will survive," she said quietly, more to herself than to anyone else. "No matter what they throw at us, we will survive." Aegis spoke, its tone almost reverent. "Commander, your actions demonstrate the extraordinary potential of humanity. They are resilient, innovative, and fearless. Your leadership has changed the course of this battle." For the first time, the Empire truly realized the magnitude of what it faced. Humans were not weak, not inferior, and not easily destroyed. One ship, one determined commander, had proven that an entire empire could be challenged by courage, intelligence, and willpower. As the remaining enemy ships faltered and scattered, Elena felt a quiet satisfaction but no triumph. The battle was far from over, and Dauntless bore the scars of its relentless campaign. Yet a spark of hope had ignited across human space. The tide had turned, and the Empire was beginning to crumble. The stars around them seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging the power of one species that refused to be forgotten. Humanity had risen, and its voice echoed through the galaxy, clear, strong, and unstoppable. The turning tide had arrived, and the legend of Dauntless was only beginning. The battlefield stretched across light years, littered with the wreckage of Empire ships. Dauntless moved with relentless precision, but the cost of victory was beginning to weigh on Commander Elena Voss. Hull integrity warnings flashed across the control panel, engines groaned under extreme strain, and weapon systems were overheating. Every pulse of fire drained the ship closer to the edge of destruction. Yet, she pressed on, knowing that humanity's survival depended on her courage and resolve. "Aegis," Elena said quietly, her eyes scanning the stars for enemy movement. "How long can we keep this up? Systems are failing faster than I can compensate." The AI responded calmly, almost reassuringly. "Current estimates indicate sustained combat for 30 more minutes before critical failure. Tactical efficiency remains at 78%. Commander, your leadership is the decisive factor." Elena clenched her jaw. 30 minutes could save thousands or doom them all. She thought of the colonies she had visited, of the children she had seen laughing among the ruins of space settlements, of the countless lives snuffed out by the Empire's cruelty. Every loss fueled her determination. Humanity had endured, survived, and thrived against impossible odds before, and it would do so again. The Empire's remnants, though battered and scattered, were not yet defeated. Waves of smaller ships attempted to flank Dauntless, hoping to overwhelm it through sheer numbers. Elena's hands moved instinctively across the control panels. "Aegis, deploy countermeasures. Use the debris from their destroyed ships. Turn their chaos against them. The AI responded with quiet efficiency. Acknowledged. Tactical advantage gained. Enemy formation destabilized. Probability of counterattack success, 86%. Missiles and energy beams carved paths through the void, striking enemy vessels before they could coordinate. One by one, the Empire's ships fell, yet with every victory, Dauntless sustained further damage. Sparks flew along the comma. Deck alarms rang sharply and heat warnings flared. Elena's heart ached as she saw the cost of every strike. Every ship destroyed, every life lost, even if it was the enemy. War was cruel but necessary. A transmission from a surviving human colony flashed across the screen. Commander Voss, we are watching. We are alive because of you. Humanity will remember this day forever. Elena's eyes glistened with tears. She whispered, "This is why we fight. To protect them, to protect everything we've built." The AI's voice was unusually soft.
Commander, your resolve embodies the essence of humanity.
They do not yield. They adapt. They endure. Your courage is their shield. Elena felt a swell of pride mixed with sorrow. The warship had become more than a vessel of war. It had become a guardian, a symbol, a promise. A promise that humans would survive, that they would rise even when the odds were stacked against them. As the battle reached its climax, Elena made a crucial decision. Dauntless could no longer survive a prolonged fight, and the Empire's flagship, though crippled, remained a threat. She would have to risk everything in a final maneuver. Aegis, we go all in. Full power to the main cannons. Target the remaining command ships. If this fails, humanity falls. The AI responded, steady and unwavering. Acknowledged, Commander. Weapons calibrated. Targeting optimized. Probability of decisive victory, 72%. Elena's hand shook slightly as she activated the weapon systems. The ship's engines flared, energy pulsing through every circuit. She knew this might be the last battle she would command, that Dauntless might not survive, that she herself might never return home. Yet in her heart, she felt no fear, only determination, courage, and an unbreakable love for humanity. The stars outside seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the storm to strike, for one human commander to defy an empire and change the fate of the galaxy. Elena whispered, "For every life lost, for every human who believes, we will survive." The warship surged forward, ready to face its greatest challenge, carrying with it the hopes, dreams, and spirit of all humanity. The final act of courage, sacrifice, and resolve was about to begin. The stars around Dauntless shone like distant diamonds, but the void was no longer peaceful. The Empire's grand fleet, battered and broken, pressed forward for one last assault. Commander Elena Voss gripped the control panel, feeling the weight of every human life across the galaxy on her shoulders. This was the final stand, the decisive moment. Humanity's future depended on her courage, her skill, and the ship that had become more than metal. It had become a symbol of resistance. Aegis, all remaining weapons. Target their flagship and command vessels. Precision is key. We cannot allow them to regroup, Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the exhaustion that clawed at her body. The AI responded calmly, its tone unwavering. Acknowledged, Commander. Probability of decisive victory, 82%. Optimal firing sequence prepared. Engines flared, energy crackled along the hull, and Dauntless surged forward like a living force of nature. Its cannons unleashed beams of concentrated power, tearing through the Empire's remaining vessels. Explosions illuminated the darkness, sending debris and fire spiraling into space. Ships that had once seemed invincible were shattered in moments. The Empire's fleet, once proud and arrogant, now reeled in disbelief and terror. Admiral Kale's voice trembled as alarms blared across his flagship. Impossible, one ship. One human ship. His hands flew over the controls, but nothing could stop the relentless assault. The Empire had never faced such unpredictability, such audacity, or such raw determination. Elena's heart pounded with a mix of fear, grief, and resolve. She thought of every human who had been lost to the Empire's destruction. Friends, families, colonies erased from history. Tears blurred her vision, but she refused to falter. "This is for all of you," she whispered, guiding Dauntless through the chaos with unerring precision. Aegis spoke softly, almost reverently. "Commander, your actions are extraordinary. Humanity's spirit is evident in every maneuver. The enemy cannot match your resolve. The final wave of Imperial ships attempted a desperate counterattack, sending volleys of missiles and energy streams at the warship. Dauntless dodged, weaved, and countered, turning their own fire against them. One by one, the remaining command ships exploded, leaving only fragments of the once mighty Grand Fleet. The battlefield shimmered with fire, smoke, and debris, but humanity's single warship stood at the center. Unbowed, Elena knew the time had come. The final weapon sequence, a concentrated energy pulse designed to obliterate any remaining enemy forces, had to be deployed. It would risk the ship's integrity and she might not survive. Yet in her heart there was no hesitation. Aegis, we do this together. Full power. End this now. The AI responded, steady as ever. Acknowledged, Commander. Calculating maximum output. Probability of fleet annihilation? 97%. Dauntless roared, engines flaring, weapons unleashing their ultimate fury. A blinding pulse of energy cut through the void, striking the remaining Imperial vessels with surgical precision. Explosions spread across the battlefield like a storm, obliterating every enemy ship in sight. Debris spiraled endlessly, the dark void lit with the fire of destruction. Admiral Kale's flagship was the last to go, disintegrating in a spectacular burst of light. Silence fell across the battlefield. No alarms, no weapons fire, only the echo of human triumph, reverberating through the emptiness of space. Elena slumped in her seat, exhaustion and relief washing over her. Dauntless was heavily damaged. Hull breaches, failing engines, and critical systems failures flashed across the console. Yet even in its battered state, the warship had achieved the impossible. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. Through the communication network, messages from surviving colonies poured in.
We are alive, we saw it! Humanity is not defeated!
Elena smiled through her tears, her heart swelling with pride. The sacrifice, the courage, the relentless determination of one human warship had saved millions. Aegis spoke quietly, almost tenderly. Commander, humanity's legacy will remember this day. Your actions, your bravery, and your resolve have become immortal. Elena closed her eyes, feeling the weight of victory and loss at the same time. She knew Dauntless might never fly again, and she might never see home. But for the first time, the galaxy knew the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity would not be conquered. Humanity would rise again, stronger than ever. The stars outside seemed to shimmer with approval, witnessing the courage of one species that refused to bow. And somewhere in the distance, across human space, hope spread like wildfire, lighting the hearts of every colony. Humanity had fought, endured, and triumphed. The last stand had been won. The void of space was calm again. The Empire's Grand Fleet, once a symbol of unstoppable power, had been reduced to nothing more than drifting debris. Silence stretched across light years, broken only by the soft hum of Dauntless, battered and scarred, yet standing as humanity's beacon. Commander Elena Voss sat in the command chair, exhaustion heavy on her body, tears streaking her face. The battle was over, but the emotions it left were vast and complex. Grief for the lost, relief for the saved, and pride for a species that had refused to surrender. She looked around the bridge of Dauntless. Sparks flickered from damaged consoles and hull panels were scorched from the relentless combat. Yet amidst the destruction there was life, purpose, and proof of human resilience. Elena let herself breathe, closing her eyes for a moment. She thought of every colony that had survived, every life saved, every human who would wake to see another sunrise. Humanity had endured against impossible odds, and now it had triumphed. Across human space, colonies erupted in celebration and relief. Messages of hope poured in through long-range communications. We saw it. Humanity stands.
We will rebuild.
We will survive.
Elena smiled through her tears. Those messages were more than words. They were proof that humanity's spirit was alive, vibrant, and unbreakable. Aegis, the AI of Dauntless, spoke softly. Commander, your leadership has become legend. Humanity has survived because of your courage and resolve. Your actions will be remembered for generations. Elena's voice was quiet, reflective. No, Aegis, this was not just my fight. It was the fight of every human who ever dared to survive, to dream, to resist. This is their victory as much as mine. The ship's systems groaned under the strain, warning lights blinking incessantly. Dauntless had given everything it had in the battle. Yet even in its battered state, it symbolized humanity's determination. a living testament that humans could face any empire, any challenge, and endure. Elena ran her hand along the control panel, imagining the ship's legacy, imagining the stories that would be told across the stars. Centuries later, humans would tell the story of the ghost warship that had obliterated the Empire's grand fleet. Children would hear the tale of Commander Elena Voss and Dauntless, a story of courage, ingenuity, and relentless spirit. Statues and memorials would rise on distant planets, not of fear or conquest, but of hope, resilience, and the triumph of the human will. Elena thought of the Empire, broken and humbled, scattered across space. They would never forget this day. The galaxy had witnessed the strength of humanity, a species once underestimated, now proven to be fearless, clever, and unyielding. One ship, one human commander had altered,